Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now some very interesting news, right? And a pretty good fight in the welterweight division, but the news is gonna be the news. You got your boy Samionis, forget his name, Stanionis, versus Vergil Ortiz. And Vergil Ortiz is that dude 19-0 with 19 KOs, right? They're gonna fight for the WBA regular title, right? And I'm kind of wondering why, because the WBA is trying to consolidate their titles so they don't have any regular champions, right? Because the champion in the WBA is Errol Spence, right? He has those 3 belts, and Terrence Crawford has the other one for the WBO. So why would we still be having fights for the regular title? I'll give you a reason. Vergil Ortiz was the mandatory for Terrence Crawford, right? And he was offered, right, the fight twice, which he shouldn't have been offered. He's the mandatory. He's supposed to be screaming to be fighting the champion, which was Terrence Crawford. The WBO president told on him, said, we offered Vergil Ortiz the fight with Terrence Crawford 2 times. He didn't want it. So now he wants to, he's gonna fight for the regular title for the WBA, right? And then he wants to fight Errol Spence after that. Now, that's not a good look for Errol Spence as far as I'm concerned, because he obviously doesn't want to fight Terrence Crawford, but he wants to fight Errol Spence. Now, he wants to fight Errol Spence in Texas, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to say, well, see, you know, Vergil Ortiz, you know, a Mexican guy, he wants to fight Errol Spence in Texas because they're from Texas. I don't know if we want to use the Texas excuse, because here's the deal. I've seen your boy Canelo Alvarez, right, Mexican guy, not want to fight neither one of the Charlos in Texas, right? When he was in 154, Charlos were both champions. He didn't want to fight either one of them in Texas, which would have been big. He didn't want to fight your boy Jamal at 160 pounds when he was his mandatory, also in Texas, right? Mexicans fighting brothers in Texas that are from Texas was a huge stadium fight. So I'm not going to use the Texas excuse for Vergil Ortiz either. So, you know, the bottom line is, it's really not a good look. Vergil Ortiz wants to fight Errol Spence, but not Terrence Crawford, even though Terrence Crawford is a little bit smaller. So that's the funny things, man, and that's why I go to the Negro League fighters. I've never seen a Negro League mandatory who can say, I'm a mandatory position, but I ain't gonna fight, right? I'm in a mandatory position, but I don't want to fight the champion, right? I've never seen that. I don't know. That's why I want you guys to answer me. I've been asking this question for 2 months now. What brother is a mandatory but doesn't want to fight the championship fight? Like a Ryan Garcia, who didn't want to fight Devin Haney. Like a Jaime Munguia, who didn't want to fight Demetrius Andrade or Charlo. Like a Canelo Alvarez, who did not want to fight Demetrius Andrade at 154. Like a Vergil Ortiz, who didn't want to fight Terrence Crawford. And here's the thing, they ignore those fights, and then they come around, and then they are getting more lucrative fights. Ryan Garcia ignored the damn fight with Devin Haney. Then he got in a lucrative fight with Gervonta Davis 2 years later. No one ever says, hey man, you avoided, instead of ducked, we'll use that, avoided Devin Haney as a mandatory. I think the mandatories that don't want to fight the champions should be penalized. Nothing happens. They're damn near celebrated. That's a problem in boxing. So, yeah, and it doesn't happen with brothers. Name me a black guy, since you know maybe don't know what brother means, a black guy who was a mandatory and just didn't want to fight the damn champion, and it goes on to go in more lucrative fights, and that the press doesn't even get on him about it. I don't see that. That's why I say Negro Leagues. These Mexican guys are fighting in a whole different league. Right? That's why they're saying right now that Vergil Ortiz is going to probably take over as the face of Golden Boy Promotions, right? Because Golden Boy, you know, they get a guy and they be like, what, you're the mandatory, Canelo? You ain't going to have to fight neither one of them Charlos or Demetrius Andrade, and you're going to be more famous and make more money. Ryan Garcia, you're not going to fight damn Devin Haney, and you're going to be more famous, and you're going to fight more lucrative fights. Right? Because ain't nobody going to say nothing to you. So Vergil Ortiz, hell no, we ain't putting you in against no damn Terrence Crawford. And would they just forget? And you can fight more lucrative fights later. That's 2 different leagues. So that's why we can't really call boxing sport. That stuff should be illegal. If a mandatory gets to that position and doesn't fight the champion, no matter where he comes from, he needs to be penalized, not celebrated. That's not too hard to understand. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide, and I'm up out of here, y'all.